General Hospital may be quietly setting up its most explosive storyline yet, and most viewers don't even see it coming. Port Charles has always been a town built on secrets, but in 2026, one secret threatens to crack its foundation forever. It begins quietly, too quietly for a town accustomed to explosions, kidnappings, and dramatic courtroom confessions. On a foggy January morning, the hospital's power flickers for exactly 7 seconds, not long enough to cause panic, just long enough to erase something. By the time the backup generators hum to life, no one realizes that a sealed digital file buried deep in General Hospital's archives has been partially corrupted. The file is labeled simply Project Orpheus. At first, it means nothing, but by spring, everything changes. Dr. Elizabeth Weber is the first to notice inconsistencies, lab results that don't match patient histories, blood types quietly altered, discharge summaries that reference procedures no one remembers performing. At first, she blames burnout. Everyone is tired. Everyone has been through too much. But Elizabeth has survived this town by trusting her instincts, and her instincts are screaming. She brings her concerns to Portia Robinson, who traces the anomalies to a now-defunct wing of the hospital, one that officially closed after the 2018 fire. Officially. Unofficially, it appears to have been operational for years. Meanwhile, Jason Morgan returns to Port Charles under a cloud of unfinished business. He tells Carly he's back to protect his family, but the truth is darker. In Prague, he intercepted a message meant for someone else, a message that mentioned Port Charles, General Hospital, and a list of names that includes his own. Jason doesn't believe in coincidences. He never has. The message ends with the phrase that haunts him. Phase 2 begins when the patients remember. The first patient to remember is Dante Falconeri. Recovering from what should have been a straightforward injury, Dante awakes in the middle of the night with a vivid memory that isn't his, or at least shouldn't be. He remembers standing in an operating room, watching a surgeon remove a bullet from his chest. But the surgeon isn't anyone he recognizes, the room isn't General Hospital, and Dante isn't a cop. He's wearing prison blues. Soon, the memories spread. Sam McCall begins having dreams where she made different choices that led her down darker paths, choices she doesn't remember making but can feel in her bones. TJ Ashford notices gaps in his medical training, entire months missing, replaced by instincts he can't explain. Even Sonny Corinthos, a man who has lost and regained his memory before, senses something is wrong. This time, it doesn't feel like a break, it feels like theft. The truth emerges piece by piece. Project Orpheus was a covert neurological program funded by a private consortium with ties to both law enforcement and organized crime. Its goal was simple and terrifying: to identify, suppress, and, if necessary, rewire behavioral patterns in high-risk individuals. Criminals, cops, doctors, anyone whose choices could shift the balance of power. General Hospital wasn't just treating patients, it was shaping them. The revelation shatters Port Charles. Elizabeth is devastated to learn she unknowingly signed off on procedures that were later altered in the system. Portia faces the possibility that her own career was built atop manipulated data. TJ questions whether his passion for medicine was truly his or implanted. And Jason learns that his emotional detachment, the very trait that defined him for decades, may have been chemically reinforced after his original accident, not created but sharpened, weaponized. The emotional fallout is explosive. Carly rages at the idea that her family was used as lab material. Anna Devane recognizes the fingerprints of international intelligence agencies and realizes how deeply the deception runs. Laura Collins, as mayor, must decide whether to expose the truth and risk destroying the town's faith in its most trusted institution, or bury it to preserve stability. But Port Charles has never been a town that survives on lies forever. The tipping point comes when a whistleblower surfaces, a former nurse, presumed dead, who reveals that Project Orpheus has a final failsafe. If the altered memories fully resurface, the neurological strain could be fatal for some patients. In other words, remembering the truth could kill them. The hospital becomes a battleground, not of guns, but of ethics. Doctors must decide whether to help patients reclaim their pasts or protect them from the damage those memories might cause. Families argue over whether they want the people they love back or the safer versions they've grown used to. In a quiet, devastating scene, Jason sits with Danny and admits he doesn't know how much of who he is was chosen for him. Danny responds simply, "You still chose me." It's the first time Jason truly breaks. The storyline culminates in a public reckoning. Project Orpheus is exposed, arrests are made, lawsuits flood in. General Hospital stands on the brink of closure, its reputation in ruins. But from the ashes comes something new, a hospital rebuilt on transparency, characters forced to redefine themselves not by who they were programmed to be, but by who they choose to become next. Port Charles survives, not because it forgets, but because it finally remembers. And in 2026, General Hospital proves that the most powerful drama isn't about secrets kept, it's about the truth finally set free.